everybody. It's your favorite medium, me, Alicia. Just kidding. All right, so we are here tonight from, where am I? I'm in Virginia. We do have a great show tomorrow here. So we're here with the Tarot Goddess, and we have a sold out show tomorrow. I'm wicked excited. So we're here in Virginia. You know, it was a sunny 102 degrees today, so I'm looking like a lobster. All right, so we have a very special guest tonight. I know I said that I was going to talk about manifestation, but we have our guest Leaf here tonight, so I'm super excited. We're going to talk to him about what he does, and you know, enough. Let's talk to him. Let's bring him on. So let's bring Leaf on tonight. Hey.
Hey everybody. I'm Leif. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm super happy that you were able to make it tonight.
I'm sorry. It is so damn hard to get out of the mountains. You know, you'd think it'd be really easy. Just, oh man, go down the road, and it's like 2.5 hours of horse trails to get to a nearby candy bar, let alone an internet connection that doesn't drop out.
Well, we're very thankful that you're here tonight. So,
Well,
thank
thanks so
you.
much for having me. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So, who do you have with you?
Oh, I got my dog with me. That's Beowulf. Come here, bud. Come say hi to everybody. Come on. We're bribing him with cheeseburgers because I forgot his bowl of food.
Cheeseburgers. Oh my God, he's so cute. I love him. Does he dig too for crystals and rocks?
Oh yeah. You know, arguably he is responsible for me getting into mining and looking for gemstones professionally. So I took him out of his placenta a little over 10 years ago, and we have spent every minute of every day together since. So we stay together in the field. We'll go out for 2 and 3 weeks at a time, and there's nobody to talk to but him. So it's pretty much everywhere. Sidekick for sure.
You know what I feel about animals though? I feel like our animals like choose us. I feel like they choose us, and I feel like choose us for a reason. So I feel like your dog chose you for a reason.
I mean, I make the joke of him being pretty lucky, but I'm pretty lucky. About let's see, yeah, about 3 months ago, we were prospecting around in Arizona, and we're on top of these mountains, and he fell into a snake den, and he got 7 rattlesnake strikes. So we found a great veterinarian. I can't wait until the company goes public, but they're out of Las Vegas. It's VEG, and these people took such good care of him that that's my baby boy. So it's pretty awesome. But we wander around a lot, so he gets just as much benefit of doing this life as I do.
That's amazing. Why don't you tell us exactly what you do?
So originally I started out just mining gemstones because rocks are pretty, and it feels cool to find treasure. Like we all want to find treasure, whether it's going to a garage sale and finding that toaster for 50 cents, or it's, hey man, I found a beautiful crystal or a beautiful opal. So I started mining opals about 14 years ago in Oregon and Washington State. And then through a bunch of time, like I went to school for explosives. I'm a heavy equipment operator, a diesel mechanic, an electrician, a welder, a fabricator. Pretty much if you've ever seen it on a mining TV show, that's what I do. I'm a one-man army. So currently right now I am developing a brand new turquoise mine in the middle of remote Nevada. If you know turquoise, the stuff I'm mining right now is, I'll give Bisbee a run for its money all day. So generally, when you meet a miner, these guys, and I mean, no offense to anybody, but normally these guys are a little bit more into the wham bam, thank you, ma'am. For me, it's really important. I have an opportunity to be on the land, and I think it's all of our responsibility to be a good steward of the land. So it's by living on site, I can help mitigate fire potential issues. As an example, one of the sites that I was working on, there's no water in Nevada. Um, at least where I'm at, there's no water for 100 miles any direction. But I found an old abandoned mining town, and you can't get there on a road. Like if you're not on a horse or a high clearance 4x, you can't get to it. But I found this site, and there's just a little bit of water trickling out of the ground. I mean, maybe half a cup a minute. And you could see that this was originally used for livestock, and they used to collect water here. There were troughs that were dug over 100 years ago, and so seeing the horses, we've got wild horses, we've got wild burros, panthers, you name it. Pretty much they're wandering around here. So I watched a horse sucking out of a puddle of just mud, like no water on it, just mud. And one of the things that I'm really proud of, yeah, mining's cool, but it's really proud to be a good steward of the animals. So, we went out and I hired up a couple of my guys that work for me sometimes. And we went out and we dug that whole troughing system out. And so I've been running a hunter cam on it for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Just seeing all the animals that are coming in, because what a boom. And I mean, it really feels good to be a part of your environment, not just profiting from it.
I totally agree. I
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think that there's nothing better, like you said, treasure, right? But like
Yeah.
treasure in nature, right? That's like the biggest gift. And I know, like, I'm a huge fan of looking for shark teeth because I feel
Yeah.
like shark is my spirit animal. And so, like, I know that when I find a shark tooth, I'm like so excited and they just wash up on the shore. So I can only imagine what it's like finding like a vein of turquoise or something. It's like, ah.
It's pretty cool. Have you ever been down to or down? Have you been over to North Carolina looking for the megalodon teeth that come up after the major storms?
So no, but I would love to. What do you mean megalod? Do you know where the
Yeah,
megalodon teeth are? Do you
yeah.
do you mind
So,
me too? 'Cause
I mean, I generally about 15, 20 years ago, I left the East Coast. Um, I like it a little bit more over here. It's a little bit more slower paced, and the hustle and bustle gets to me too much. But they are on the coast of North Carolina, and the best times to go are getting ready to start coming up. It's right after all these major storm cells are coming through the Atlantic. And basically, they turn up the ground, and you can have these massive shark teeth. And I mean, give you an idea. Like here's just a standard five.
yeah.
Those shark teeth are about that long.
Is there a
So I
reason
mean,
why? Do you think there's a reason why they're off of North Carolina?
just because of the flows of the water and how the hurricanes and the different flows come on up. I don't actually know the science behind it, but I
Yeah.
do know that with every year when we have hurricane season over there, it churns that area of the water up pretty darn fine, and it'll throw it all out. One thing that I think is interesting is a lot of the sites that I dig are Precambrian marine life beds, and so
Yes.
it's one of those when you look at the ground here. If you just look at anywhere in Nevada, you can see that this entire place was underwater. This was a giant inland sea. So I don't know the science behind North Carolina megalodon tooth deposits, but looking at that in comparison and how often those teeth come up, and then looking at where I'm mining in Nevada, where we're finding clam fossils that are replaced with turquoise and varicite and pseudomorph mussels and oysters.
Wow.
It's really hard to have all of those conditions come out. So it's one of those, looking at the megalodon teeth being coming up every year, and there are guys that'll go fill up buckets of these things.
Wow.
It is kind of crazy to look at what I'm doing and say, hey, how much of this was churned up? How many of these these fossilized specimens have already come to the surface and just degraded away. So I mean, it really it goes beyond the treasure hunting kind of aspect of it, more into, you're touching a piece of history. I mean, to
Yeah,
be able to hold that. Like I have a dinosaur egg.
I was gonna ask.
I I was blessed enough about 12 years ago to meet some Native Americans out on the Navajo Dene Reservation. I got involved with them. Like I said, it's important to me to be a steward of the animals. So I got involved with these guys because the government holds a horse hunt every year on Navajo land, and they kill these animals. And to a certain extent, you can argue and say, hey, this is good for the environment, overgrazing, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, you're killing animals that could normally just live their life. So we ended up going out, and one of the ways to avoid having federal agents come and murder these horses is you go out and brand them, you go out and catch them, you give them a territory, and you let them live. So I got involved just catching and roping horses with them, and as we'd be going into town, because I mean, this is another place so far remote, it'd be 70, 80 miles to get into a town to go grocery shopping. So we'd always end up meeting these natives that pretty much are broken by the system and need help and all of that. So every now and then, hey man, hop in the truck. We'll take you back out to your ancestral homeland. And if you need help, like, hey man, we understand. And so we developed this sobriety outreach program where it really just helped people, the real people, not the guys that can go get the help themselves, but
Right,
people who
right.
really desperately need that help.
Mhm.
And so we started helping these people. And, I think I spent 9 months out there the first time, and seeing how many people we helped, it became one of these, like, they didn't know how to react to it. It's most of the time, they're not treated very nicely.
Right.
So eventually, I was adopted by a prominent family in Navajo Nation, and she came up to me, and my clan mother, which I think is really cool. That entire tribe of indigenous people are a matriarchal society, which goes to show you that they might be a little bit smarter than us. They let women run the show, and women call the shots. But leave it at that.
I mean, they're smart.
They really are. They've got such a cool way of life. They really got it figured out. But my clan mother ended up saying, hey, this is a big difference for us. And, we don't normally get to see this. So tell you what, you're into paleontology and geology and archaeology and all these really cool things. So we know this guy. He doesn't speak any English, but he's going to come pick you up, and he's going to take you out to a site that, nobody's allowed to. Like if
Top secret.
If you're not native and you don't have the right name behind you, you really will have a bad time if you get caught out here. And so they said, you're never allowed to come back out here without somebody. But Darwin, and I swear to God, that's the guy's name. Darwin.
I love that name, Darwin. It's so adventurous.
Well, for a guy taking you out to a fossil bed, and to not have him speak a lick of English, it just tickled the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Well, so they said, okay, well, Darwin's going to take you out to this site, and he's going to point to a hill to you, and basically go over there. You got like 30, 40 minutes, see what you can find, and come back, and he'll take you to another site and show you something, but you can't touch it. He'll just show you. And so this entire section of Navajo Nation is literally covered with dinosaur footprints. The second site that they took us to, or us, Beowulf and I to, was an actual skeleton that's partially exposed out of a bank. It's about 7.5 feet long. I can't remember what it's called, but it's one of these lizard dinosaurs. And then they took me to another site that they apparently it was a washout site where everything was buried out. And every now and then you'll find these, petrified wood, lots and lots of
Yeah.
that. And every now and then you'll find these eggs. And so they find them and they collect them and they'll put them into piles because
Piles? There's that many?
Navajo Dene, there's probably, I saw when I went up there, I saw about 20, 25 of them.
Dinosaur eggs?
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. But it's those people don't believe it's actually against their religion. They don't believe in digging in the ground.
Oh, so that's why
They,
the skeleton is still partially in the ground?
you know, is spiritually they believe Dene believe that we come from the earth and that it's I'm paraphrasing here, but it's kind of a slight against the creator to dig into the ground where he or she allowed you to emerge from. So they only pick up things off of the ground, and truthfully, they're not so sold on our capitalistic system. So it's, would it be cool to have a dinosaur skeleton to be able to display? Super. But they're
It's
just
kind
not
of
into
cooler
it.
where it is, though.
Yeah. And so it's really fun to be able to have those kinds of experiences and then tie those experiences into, well, I've seen how and why this is there and how and why this is here. And it's being able to take that knowledge and apply it out.
Can you tell me something? First,
Yeah.
First Whitney says that Casperton Beach in Florida is the shark tooth capital of the world. Now, every time I go to that beach,
Capital
at Casperton Beach in Florida.
Oh.
It's right by Venice. Every time I go there, I just walk along the beach and they just are in the surf all the time. And I think that there's I think what the story is that there's like a shelf or something right off of the beach. And I think again, stuff gets turned up and it happens to go there.
Yeah. That sounds about right. I mean, I grew up in Florida a long time ago, and there's a lot of stuff that gets turned up. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, my grandma came up to me and she said, "Well, you can find opals here in Florida," and it still blows my mind because you can, but the likelihood of finding, you find a tiny little piece of opal in Florida, go buy a lottery ticket. I mean, it's happening.
Wow.
But there's a lot of agatized and opalized coral over north of Tampa Bay, inland a little bit.
Oh,
and most of those sites are on private property, though.
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's yeah. And then
But, I mean,
Jenny wants to. Do you think that megalodons still exist?
I mean,
I do. Shit. How can you say it doesn't? There's so much of the ocean that hasn't been explored, right?
Yeah, I think the quote of the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. We know less about the sea and the depths of the sea than we do about neighboring celestial bodies.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, is it possible? Yeah, and I mean, of course, I love those videos of Indonesian Indonesian fishing vessel attacked by giant octopus.
Yeah.
I mean, if they got a 30-foot octopus, why not? Why not have something that still runs around and eats those guys?
I know. I'm here for it. Like, I love sea monsters. And I think that as more clarity happens and more things become uncovered from what science has found and what kind of is out there, I think that we're going to be surprised about what we do know about, but haven't brought it to the light yet. But
absolutely. I love reading, and every now and then, I'll see a podcast clip or something like that that'll just get me down a rabbit hole. And
for sure.
We have a disease. I used to run a company called Dust Devil Mining Company. It was the oldest and largest Oregon Sunstone mining company out there. We built the market. But from being out there, you end up seeing things that nobody knows about, that it just doesn't exist. And so it's, as you learn more and more and more, we have out in Oregon, out at that mine, the jackrabbits have a disease called tularemia, and it's basically super nasty, shuts down your kidney, blows out your lymph nodes. Basically, you're not long for the world if you get it. And even right now, under current medicine that we have, unless they know exactly what it is, mm-hmm. you're looking at mortality. And even if they do know what it is, yeah, like a 50-50 shot at pulling through. Well, the reason why I bring that up is I was listening to a clip of a podcast for an Amazon Explorer. I think it's like it's Paul Rosie or something like that. Really cool guy, but he was talking about tularemia and how he had it. He had contracted it on another expedition, and he had gone to the Amazon, and one of the natives actually found him and was like, "My God, dude, you're gonna die. Come here." And they pulled some sap off of a tree. They said, "Okay, drink one drop of this sap, and then put this sap on your lymph nodes." And this guy, Paul, is just saying, "Man, I've had this for 3 months and I'm on such heavy antibiotics." He goes, "The day after they gave me this, it was gone." He's like, I literally, my body finally overcame it. So to sit down and say, "Oh, we've discovered it all. We know it all. We've seen it all." No way. No way possible. There are brand new discoveries every day that we just never even knew.
Hi, JK. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Jenny, I agree. And I feel like also what happens is that when people become public with things that are very curable or remedies that are helpful, I feel like, they try to get shut down. And
well, it's definitely not profitable.
Right. Yeah. Jenny says, "Is that what they do with burial mounds? Like, do you mean, Jenny, back when we were talking about the dinosaur eggs and stuff? I guess, can you clarify? But can you tell me something? Can you tell me what a dinosaur egg looks like? Because that gets me excited. Like, I want to know what a dinosaur egg looks like. What?
So generally, they're very spherical. Oftentimes, mineralized and mineral replacement. The particular ones that I have are actually they come along much later in the time scale. They're not very round. The one that I have is very ovular. It kind of looks like a modern day egg, but it's big. I mean, this thing is this. Yeah. So the one that I have, I have a connection in the Smithsonian. The curator of the gemstone department for Smithsonian is a family friend for one of the mines that I used to run. So, it's not it's not what, it's who. And so we sent that off for some preliminary testing. And essentially one of the very first things that any of these paleontologists do is they do a CAT scan on it. They want to see if there's an intact embryo inside. Because that becomes something that's like a wow. I mean, to you and I,
baby dinosaur.
Well, to you and I, just knowing that, wow, man, I'm holding a piece of an egg. That's a big deal. But in the professional community, it's, oh, well, that's just a piece of bone. Oh, that's bad. And so they really want to see the science behind it. So when we sent that off, it's for that area. There are a lot of hematite replacement. There's hematite inside of the petrified wood in the area. most of the fossilized bone and skeletons in that area are actually hematite replacement, at least partially hematite replacement. So when they took this egg that I had sent off, they basically said, "Hey, we can't get a scan into it because essentially a block of metal." So they did a little bit more analysis, but it just came back as, "Hey, this is really cool. This is a pseudomorph, but it's pretty cool."
But but it's cool.
What I use it for. We used to host the elementary school kids in Oregon out at our mine. We ran a family-friendly operation for 32 years. And when kids come out, it's heck yeah, little dude. What's your favorite color? Here's a green rock or a blue rock, and it's always really fun. I have quite a fossil collection because I don't keep stuff, but when I do, and so I'll bring out the dinosaur egg. I have a papered and proven cave bear phalange and a cave bear canine tooth that dates back about 16,000, 17,000 years out of Oregon.
A finger or a toe?
Well, we're not. I'm not really sure because they don't have a lot of. Yeah, it's either a finger or a toe bone, and it's about an inch and a half long. Looks like a normal finger bone, and then I have a canine tooth that came off of the same skeleton.
Wow.
Like that a camel. We used to have three-toed camels running around all over Oregon about 20,000 years ago. So,
really?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
so there was.
Real quick, Jenny says if you're not digging in the ground, that's why there were mound burials, is what she's asking.
I'm not sure on where she's at, what the cultural beliefs are. I know in a traditional Dene burial, it's kind of gruesome, but generally what they used to do is they would put you into a tree and they would leave you there for the elements to come harvest you out.
I mean, it makes sense. Tree of life,
then they
right?
would come get your bones.
Oh.
But basically, the burial mounds like in Louisiana, Georgia, the northern panhandle of Florida, those areas, generally they did the burial mounds because of flooding and other issues. I mean, in Florida, if you dig 10 feet down, you're going to hit water. So generally they would try to lift that up a little bit more.
Wow. So you find actually really cool things other than rocks and crystals too, then. Your life sounds so exciting. Like, I want to go treasure hunting.
I mean, come on down. So I do handle some feeding. So I worked with the Otteson family for a decent amount of time. They are right now they're a 5th generation dynasty turquoise mining family. There is well over 100 members of the family. I work with a handful of the folks. I did some of the powder work with some of their mines. So like I blew up some of their stuff for them. But these people are really cool to work with. I love doing the treasure hunting thing though. So sometimes I'll work and mine turquoise with them, and other times it's, hey, I'd like to go wander around here. And it's not as much taking things. I don't like taking things.
Yeah, it's just discovering.
We were talking the other day, and there are places that I have been in this country where, I don't see like entities and ghosts and stuff like that. I don't physically look at them, but there are places where the energy is just wild. And so to go.
What have you experienced with energy on land?
Let's see. That's a cool one. Back to the Navajo Nation thing. I have gotten to travel to old Spanish fortifications in Navajo land, where Spaniards in the 14th and 15th century had come through. looking for the lost cities, 7 cities of Cibola, looking for gold and riches, and the giants of the north and all of that. So they would build these outposts. I've seen and traveled onto land that's are Anasazi ruins, cliff dwelling people ruins that haven't been touched for well over 1,000 years.
I
And
am a sucker for ruins. I love ruins, especially if it hasn't been touched. And it's like the power in ruins is just like, I feel like anyway.
it really is. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but you can definitely tell when you walk into somewhere, the pressure is different. Like it's all heavier. And it's a really hard thing to explain, especially when that's not exactly what I do. I've only I've only been scared shitless of a piece of ground once in my life, and that was that was pretty damn crazy. Um, so I have a skinwalker story.
Oh, I love skinwalker stories. But
Okay,
first,
so
wait, first before your skinwalker, have you ever mined amethyst and where would it be found?
I have not mined amethyst, but I hear there's some really great operations in Georgia that have really nice production. Other than that, I mean,
I
there are
heard Maine
smaller.
too. I heard Maine has a couple of veins up there of amethyst that they're pulling out.
I think Maine. I think amethyst is a lot of the locations. I think it's found in Arizona. I know we've got a deposit in Washington. I know that there are tons of quartz and pegmatites in Maine, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And then generally it's a lot of the places. I mean, if you want the big old points, the only place that I've heard that the Coke bottle sized points are coming out of are a site in Georgia over by Cumming, Georgia.
Amethyst happens to be my favorite. But all right, let's talk about Skinwalker because I'm into that. So let's talk about it.
So, do you know what white people say a skinwalker is versus what native peoples believe?
I definitely do, but why don't you explain so that our listeners can know the difference between
Well,
Discovery Channel
now,
and real?
well, I might get in trouble. So no
We like
chewing me
talk
up a bit
courtesy.
too much. But basically, to the native peoples that I know and am friends with and am part of their community, a skinwalker is a black magic practitioner that has undergone certain ceremonies that are, not so great, that enable them to have a contract to access dark power
So they're
and also.
initiated into a dark energy.
Yeah, generally it's through a family. Originally, a lot of the what's called evil way is was started during white occupation into native lands. It was generally just used against really bad enemies. Now, fast forward, what our understanding of what a skinwalker is specifically. I'm sure you know what like astral projection is and all that kind of fun stuff. Put your mind or your consciousness or your soul outside of your body.
Mhm.
And what is believed to be done is that soul or that consciousness or that energy leaves your body, and depending on what your relationships, what contracts you have, you can go actually inhibit the body or inhabit, excuse me, inhabit the body of another critter. So generally, Native Americans in the area that I'm at are very leery of coyotes, cougars, owls, mice. Generally, these creatures are not inherently evil, but they are more easily used in practice of skinwalking. So what that really comes down to is these people go get into the bodies of animals, and it sounds so weird.
I don't think it sounds weird at all, but I mean, I see dead people for a living, so I don't. I mean,
if I hadn't personally, and I mean, oh, I know your listeners might not know, but I've lived by myself for well over weeks and months out in the middle of nowhere with no human contact, nothing to look at but my own 2 feet and my dog. So it's, I don't get scared. I'm not one of those, oh God, what's around the dark corner? It's all right, man. If you're around the dark corner and you're messing with me, you're gonna turn you into Swiss cheese. Leave me be. So,
that's
so
great.
we had a bunch of people out on this reservation, and some people who were living in one of the hogans, a traditional house that was built, back in the 70s. A group of folks who were living in a hogan about 5-6 miles away from where I was living were experiencing an issue with a cougar that wasn't exhibiting predatory behavior. It was just exhibiting territorial, which predatory and territorial they sound the same and you kind of draw the same, but they're not.
Right.
And basically this creature would come into an area and make its presence known and make itself known that it didn't care what you were, who you were, why you were there. You were in its house, which is kind of a normal thing for an animal. Over the course of about 2 or 3 weeks, it continued to get worse, to where now this cougar would go sit on top of the roof for an hour a night and would pee onto so a hogan, we're sleeping in female hogans, so it's not a stick and fork, it's the round building with the conical roof on it.
Yep.
And so in the center of there is a fireplace. You have a wood burning stove with a pipe coming out.
Right.
So this cougar started peeing through the roof onto the wood burning stove. And so at that point, we have to go to the elders because, we're not,
Yeah.
you don't get to make decisions there. It goes back into that whole matriarchal thing is if you're a lady, you have to go talk to your female medicine woman. And if you're a man, you have to go talk to your medicine man. And depending on what you talk to your medicine man about, the medicine man then needs to go and talk to the medicine woman. And then both of them go to whatever local leader they have and say, okay, hey, we've consulted and here, this warrants your attention. So finally, clan mother came out and said, hey, this seems to be a problem. This animal isn't acting normally. And how it was explained to me at the time before, they sat down and said, hey, this is what this is. They said, we believe that spiritually there is something not right here. And, we have a call to warriors, and it's, what we define as white people for what a warrior is not what they define a warrior as. So they define a warrior as we need selfless people to make the willing sacrifices to protect the good of the community. Not, hey, go over there and take his oil. Not that kind of stuff. So she said, well, we need to put a call out, and, we believe spiritually that this is not good, but even looking at it from an object standpoint, this cougar is presenting and doing things that are not right. It's not within its laws of nature. We probably need to go remove that because it's either going to hurt someone or it'll start to hurt the community by taking and killing livestock. Right. So they sent us out, and we were wandering around, and basically it established, I used to track, and so we're looking for this animal, and it's late at night. I think it's 11, 12 o'clock. We're coming back. We had about 6, 7 miles left to go, and we were taking the main trail that we knew this cougar was taking to come to this hogan to like pee on it and make itself known and all this. So we're tracking into that area. And as we're going down the road, we started seeing footprints in the road. No worries, cool, man. Like, you're on a reservation, and it's not like a trailer reservation. It's more like a national park reservation.
Mm-hmm.
And there are legends of the little people and all sorts of things going on. But all of a sudden, we go from a little footprint in the ground, like a toddler's footprint, and the toddler's footprint over 130 yards went from a tiny little foot to a big foot. And I wear a size 14 boot, so not that big, but went to like 11, 12 shoe size of a
like
foot.
As the prints were going, they were getting bigger.
Yes. And that was one of the things that was just like, because I've seen so many tracks, so many footprints, so many things, and it wasn't that it's, oh well, little 2-year-old walked down the trail and then stepped off onto the grass and then got picked up by his dad, and now it's just big footprints. It was, there had to have been 10 people, all with different sized feet, swapping each other out and keeping the same stride. And as the feet got bigger, the stride of the step got bigger. And so at this point, normally I'm not an easily concerned person, but as I see a stride of a footprint going from 8 or 9 inches all of a sudden to 1.5 feet, and you can see that this is moving quickly. It's got the divots to where it is moving fast. And so now I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my God, man, we're getting up behind something and it knows we're here and now it's leaving. And so as we're going, we come up into this a little bit more of a cliffy and tree area, and knowing how, these animals work, it's, hey guys, I had a friend with me who said, hey man, we really got to worry about this, because generally a healthy cougar won't try to attack you unless it's like 98% sure it can get you without getting hurt. And so generally they'll drop onto you. You can smell them. Imagine the worst crazy cat lady has not maintained her litter box for like 3.5 years. That's what a cougar smells like. And I tell people, because I take them out into the bush a lot, if you smell that, you're in trouble. You're not in as much trouble as you would be, because the next step is it's on top of you. But if you start smelling this, you will smell them far before you see them.
So did you ever see it? Did you ever see it?
Yeah. We ended up. That's where the story gets even crazier.
I'm invested.
So essentially, we're going down this path, and the footprints just stop, and there's no trees, there's nothing. It's going fast. It's gotten larger on its stride, and it just stops, and nowhere else. It's not 10 feet over here. It's not oh, he got some sticks and walked out on sticks. The footprints went that we followed for a couple 100 yards, and then it just stopped. And so then it was, what's going on? Like, our is one of the guys down at the ranch giving us a hard time? Did they know that we were coming up this way? And we're like, we're just gonna mess with them. Nope. So basically at this point, it's 11 o'clock at night, give or take. We're hiking along this path back to this hogan that's been being harassed for all this time. Well, we finally get there, and as we're approaching, the cougar footprints start out of nowhere. There's no tree up above. There's nothing. So all of a sudden, on the normal path that you can see all the normal game is going down, and here's these footprints that just come out of nowhere. Now, that night, we ended up staying outside of the Hogan, and just said, well, we didn't see it. So if it comes over here, well, we can handle this. That night, it never showed up. So then the second night, we went and got a goat, got a sheep, and brought a sheep over and
To
tied it
lure
up.
it?
Huh?
To lure it in?
Yeah, I mean, this is at a point. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a point of time where this has been going on for like 2.5 weeks, and it's already progressed to a problem. So essentially, yeah, we brought an animal in as an attempt of, well, instead of coming here, let's see if we can make it go over there. And
Yeah.
it never did. So one night we saw it about 30, 40 feet away from that animal, sitting and just watching. A couple of days after that, the guys, or the husband of the clan mother, shot that cougar in his yard. And basically, their yards are like 30-acre yards.
Right, right.
But basically, it had come in to investigate his livestock, and so he ended up coming out and shooting it. Now they use that animal as for medicine. There's a lot of spiritual stuff that they do with that I wasn't privy to. But the thing that gets really, really, really concerning is they had always warned us about going onto the other side of the valley. They said, there's people over there that you don't be friends with. Like, they're not good people. They'll do bad things. Mm-hmm. They died that night. Yep.
So if you kill, I got questions. All right. So if you're a skinwalker, right, and you're killed while your soul is in an animal, it kills your physical body.
Yes.
Because your soul doesn't go back to your physical body.
Yeah, you're stuck. You're stuck over there. So essentially, you will be very sick and very wrong as your body basically desiccates from not having whatever you put out.
Are skinwalkers everywhere, or are they only at Skinwalker Mountain?
Oh, that's just a TV show kind of thing. I mean, technically, there's stories and beliefs of what I just described throughout Native American culture across the country. But
so anywhere, because there's coyotes everywhere. We have coyotes here. We have coyotes in Connecticut. We have coyotes in Florida. Mm-hmm. I've seen coyotes everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't want to give them a bad name because that's one thing we
Not
don't want
every coyote is a skinwalker.
Okay, thank you. But it is one of those. There is possibilities of, just in the same way that there's really good people out in the world.
Right.
It's unfortunate to draw it out, but yeah, there's really bad things out in the world too. As far as coyotes go, I think they are getting a lot smarter. They breed with dogs anytime that they can, because one, it's a free meal, and then two, they are very smart. Most of the time when a coy dog is in a pack, it will become the alpha of that pack, and they are much more brave. They're much more smart. They're much smarter. They have problem and puzzle solving skills to the point where they can understand what times the ranchers are coming out to check on their livestock, and they can plan and wait. Isn't
that amazing?
Yeah. I mean, world is.
I can't believe we've been talking for almost an hour already. That goes by so fast, like so fast. So let's tell the people, where can they find your stuff? Where can they find you? Where can they get more information about you?
So I used to run a website called lifedigsit.com. Um, Pretty much I just used it for pictures of my dog and going on some of the adventures that we had. Like I said at the beginning of this, I'm a technological Neanderthal. Um, so I do maintain some social media accounts. I am relatively old school with what I do. I like meeting people. I like shaking hands. I like being able to know who I'm talking to. So generally, right now, I'm just using my social media accounts. I do a couple of shows a year where I sell the turquoise or the jewelry that I make. And I go to Tucson every year. I'm in Quartzsite every year. I do the Santa Fe Indian Market in New Mexico. And then other than that, I am always reachable, though I might not respond so well.
If he has service.
Yeah, it's I do run off of a satellite phone. It's packed away right now. Let me see.
It's a Nokia.
Okay, so
Back
this
in
is that's my cell phone. So
I love that.
basically, I'm kind of tough to get a hold of. Best way to get a hold of me is email. It's lifedigsit@gmail.com. And then other than that, I'm looking forward to getting a website back together because a handful of my friends are really suggesting me to do so just to share some of these stories. There's only so much to do in a day, though.
That is true. That is true.
Uh,
But
well,
I really appreciate you having conversation with us because I know it's not easy for you to have conversations. So, like, I know that I really appreciate it, and I learned a lot tonight about dinosaur eggs and stuff because I didn't really know about that. So, I'm fascinated. I'm hooked, and now I like want to go look for dinosaur eggs.
well, I'll have to shoot some video on my site where I'm mining turquoise right now, just so I can give some supplemental video and say, okay, here's where we're at. But that's what I do full time now. Is I mine turquoise and I go wandering around as a consultant. I love my fossils and all my old remnants of history, but really I'd love to be able to share some more of that with you. And it just depends on time.
Hope says awesome episode. Thanks, Hope. That was awesome. Like, I'm totally into it. I could talk to you for hours, literally. Like, we'll have to have you on again because you have great stories.
Well, it's a lot of fun. I'm really appreciative to have me in here, and I mean, you also helped me get all of my socks cleaned.
All
It has been
160 pairs.
160 pairs. Yeah, I mean that is reasonable. That is very reasonable amount of socks to have. Some some
I
people
think
have
I've
shoes.
160 pairs of socks in my whole life. You own that today.
I mean, I there are favorite ones and there are emergency pairs. But sometimes I'll have people come out and they'll work for me for 5 or 6 days out in the field, and they'll say, "Oh man, I spilled a bottle of water on my boots and now my feet are wet." Like, yeah, man, I got a loaner pair for you. Don't worry about it.
Loaner, but you have to wash them and give them back.
You just keep them. You can keep them. You got 159 more pairs. Don't worry about it.
Oh my god, you are so fun. But I'm gonna put you in the backstage and I just really appreciate you and
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
appreciate all of your stories. So thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you. All right, you guys. So that was an awesome episode. I'm hooked on dinosaur eggs now. Like, I'm obsessed. Now I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole of dinosaur eggs. So there's that. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight. Make sure you tune in every Friday night for your favorite psychic medium, me. Also, you can find me at starshiptemperance.com if you have any questions or you want your readings. Thank you guys. I'll see you next week. Thank you. I love you guys.